"Dad's not dead. He's under the floor," the little girl whispered. Police immediately started digging. Before we dive into this chilling story, please let us know which part of the world you're listening from, or country, and if you enjoy content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Everything changed during a custody hearing. Because of a single whisper, a 6-year-old girl lightly tugged on a police officer's sleeve and quietly said, "Daddy isn't dead. He's under the floor." The room fell silent. Her father had been missing nearly a year, declared dead, but her words, so calm and confident, froze the courtroom. The judge stopped mid-sentence. Tension filled the air. Just hours later, investigators were digging up a home's living room floor, all because of a child's startling claim. What they found next shocked an entire nation. Sometimes children notice truths that adults simply ignore. Please do keep watching to the end. Since her father's disappearance, little Lila had spoken very little. Her mother claimed he had abandoned them, just left with no explanation. But something never sat right. Lila often sat quietly, staring at the floor like she could see through it. When no one was around, she'd whisper or draw eerie pictures of their home with strange shadows underneath the flooring. Her grandparents asked her about the drawings, but she stayed silent. Until that day in court, her mother was seeking full custody and pushing to officially close the missing persons case. But when the judge asked if there was anything more to add, Lila spoke up. "Daddy's not gone," she said. "He's under the floor, in the dark spot where Mommy put the boxes." People assumed she was traumatized, that she had an active imagination. But one officer couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. The following morning, the officers came back to the residence, this time with a cadaver dog trained to detect human remains. That's when everything began to unravel. The dog let out a sharp bark, then another. With focused intent, it began circling a very specific patch of the living room floor. It pawed at it briefly, sniffed again, and then sat down, its trained signal for detection. The officers froze. They looked at one another, eyebrows raised, tension thick in the air. This wasn't a random alert. Something was definitely beneath their feet. The mother rolled her eyes. "That's absurd," she said. "We've lived here forever. There's nothing under there except insulation and dirt." But when asked to temporarily vacate the house for safety, her mood shifted. Anger, then visible anxiety. They brought in ground-penetrating radar equipment, a high-tech tool often used to detect underground anomalies that aren't visible to the eye. The officers scanned the living room floor, their eyes glued to the live imaging feed. As the radar swept back and forth, something strange began to take shape beneath the surface. It wasn't just a glitch or a vague shape, it was a precise outline that looked hauntingly like a person in a curled position. The officers stared at the monitor in silence. The scan left little room for doubt. By midday, based on the radar evidence and the growing suspicion, a judge quickly signed a warrant authorizing full excavation of the area. Neighbors gathered behind yellow caution tape as the digging began. First went the tiles, then the concrete dust, then a plastic tarp. Meanwhile, Lila was at her grandmother's home, eating cereal and watching cartoons, unaware of what was happening down the street. Then came the discovery. Human remains. A body, partially wrapped in decaying plastic, buried beneath layers of dirt and concrete. What made everyone freeze, though, was the work badge still clipped to the shirt. The same badge from the local electric company that Lila's father wore every day before he vanished. It was unmistakable. It was Lila's father. His body had been there the entire time, just feet below where they all once stood. The discovery was more than tragic. It was deeply haunting, turning a quiet living room into the center of a horrific revelation. An autopsy later verified that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the skull, suggesting a violent blow inflicted with significant force. Forensic analysis also revealed that the body had been hastily concealed not long after the fatal injury. The estimated time of death was placed around 11 months prior, aligning almost exactly with the date Lila's father had first been reported missing. This wasn't some tragic accident. It was a deliberate act, a cold, calculated murder meant to stay buried forever. The mother was taken into custody later that same day after being intercepted at a bus terminal where she was attempting to escape across state lines using forged identification papers and a fake name. She was carrying hastily packed bags, a burner phone, and a large amount of cash, signs she had been planning this exit for some time. Despite hours of questioning, she never offered a confession, never admitted to anything, but the trail of evidence against her was overwhelming and impossible to refute. Blood beneath the subfloor told part of the horrifying story. A missing hammer, believed to be the murder weapon, was never recovered. And then there were Lila's haunting drawings, crude yet emotionally rich pictures that depicted red marks, stick figures beneath the house, and shadows that adults had ignored for far too long. She had spoken her truth, the only way her young mind could manage, through pictures, whispers, and silences that should have raised alarms much earlier. Yet no one had believed her. Not until it was almost too late. In court, Lila's video testimony was played. Her voice was quiet, but her words hit hard. "He used to sing to me at night. Then I heard him cry from under the floor." Her pictures were shown. Red lines, shadowy figures, and a man beneath their home. Prosecutors called it one of the most disturbing and chilling child-led investigations in the nation's legal history. Experts testified that without Lila's clues, this crime could have remained hidden for years, possibly forever. The mother was handed a life sentence for first-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and evidence tampering. The court denied her the possibility of parole. There would be no appeal, no leniency, no second chance for the woman who silenced a man and tried to erase his existence beneath their own home. The judge said Lila's courage was the only reason the truth emerged. As the media swarmed outside, one heartbreaking lesson became clear. The smallest voices sometimes carry the loudest truths. If we listen, truly listen with our hearts, not just our ears. Lila now resides with her grandparents in another state, where she's surrounded by stability, comfort, and people who genuinely care. She's undergoing regular therapy sessions to process the trauma she lived through, and is gradually rediscovering the simple joy of childhood, learning to laugh again, to feel safe, to trust. Her story quickly spread across the internet, captivating millions. But beyond the headlines and media coverage, it sparked something deeper, a critical shift in how the world perceives and values the words of children. It became a reminder that no voice is too small when truth is being spoken. Law enforcement agencies across the country began taking a fresh look at old and unresolved family cases, particularly those where young children had once given statements or shown signs of knowing more than they could verbalize at the time. Counselors and child psychologists now reference Lila's experience in workshops and training sessions, using it as a powerful example of how crucial it is to truly hear children without rushing to dismiss their words as fantasy or confusion. She was only a little girl, but within her small frame lived a courage far greater than most could imagine. Her quiet determination shattered a wall of silence and exposed a dark secret buried in concrete and lies. Because the truth doesn't always come crashing through doors or shouting in courtrooms. More often, it tiptoes in, clothed in whispers and innocence. Sometimes, it doesn't scream. Sometimes, it whispers. From under the floorboards, and never forget, listen to children. They know more than we realize. We often dismiss little children for their statements, and what would you have done if you were in that courtroom? Would you have believed Lila's quiet words? Please let us know in the comments below, and thank you so much for listening to Storyline Narratives.